to TNA Wrestling Post Show. As always, I'm joined by Burt Macklin, who allegedly has no relation to Steve Macklin.
I don't. I wish I did this week. Well, anytime he wins, I wish I was related to him. You know what I mean?
That was a great main event. But before we get into that, let's recap Explosion a little bit. So we had Around the Ring with Bhupinder Gunhar, which, I'm really enjoying these Around the Ring segments because we get to learn more about the wrestler outside of wrestling.
Definitely.
So Bhupinder Gunhar got an Alumni Distinction Award from St. Clair's College, so congrats to him. And then we had a one match, Masha Samovich versus Rosemary. Rosemary picked up the win. Masha Samovich accidentally hit Killer Kelly. It seems to me like MK Ultra is not on the same page here, which sucks because they do have a Knockouts Tag Team title rematch in store for them, and they can't get it together.
I think, and we'll talk about this as the show goes on, I think a running theme to tonight's episode is going to be dissension. It seems like a lot of teammates are on the same page, and it's concerning.
I agree. We got to talk about that as we get into tonight's show. JJ in the house saying Explosion needs to step up. It's getting these one match Explosions ain't it. Exactly. I do agree. I really like the two theme format of Explosion. You can even throw in a third match in there. So I'm not digging the whole one match Explosion type thing. What about you?
Yeah. I don't know if their whole thing is, because I don't like them showing a lot of the classic stuff. And the only thing I can think of is they're trying to get people to sign up for the network. But a lot of, I would assume, a lot of the people who watch Explosion probably already have the network. So I don't know what their goal is of showing these best of matches. Because it was one thing when you're showing it on your weekly product, more people are probably seeing it, but I don't know why they're I don't get the point of showing that. If they want to do a best of show, they could do that. I just don't get it. I think it's kind of a waste of time.
I actually don't have the network yet. I don't have the TNA app. I still use Impact Insiders, TNA Insiders, I mean.
Yeah, I do have the network, so I just don't see the point of doing that on Explosion.
I definitely do see the point. Like, I'm not digging the whole one match thing. They should have 2 or 3 matches on there. Put people who aren't frequently used on there. I don't know if we talked about this, but Crazy Steve should go on there. He's a digital media champion. Explosion is on YouTube. That's digital media.
Or bring back, since they own the network, bring back showing like the best of TNA after they show New Japan. Like, there's nothing wrong with more wrestling content on Access.
That's true. All right, let's kick things off talking about this 8-4-1 match. It's the team of Zaya Brookside, Rosemary, Danny Luna, and the returning Steph DeLanter versus Havoc, Jody Threat, Alicia Edwards, and Masha Slamovich. NWA Power has 3 to 4 matches a week in a 1-hour slot. There's no excuse. That's true. So I really like this match. Ash by Elegance was at ringside. And for those of you who have never seen this match, it's not the first time we do this. They did it last time with the man, which commentary talked about. It was a match that Nick Aldis won. It was one of his final matches in TNA before he left WWE.
Yeah, I like this, man. Well, first off, I like the concept of the match. I don't remember anybody doing it outside of TNA that I can remember. I'm sure somebody's done it. Nothing's original these days. That's not a bad thing. The whole time, as soon as Steph DeLander came out, I thought 2 things. I was like, 1, I hope then we see Cardona later. And we did. They played to the finish just because they've been kind of a team on the indies. And then 2, I'm just wondering why she wasn't given an offer, unless she was. I'm not privy to that information, but I don't know. I thought she worked really well. I think she fits in the division. And really, anyone fits in that division just because the utilization of that division. You know what I mean? They can get their use of everybody is top tier. But yeah, I wish they would sign her and Matt Cardona.
I don't think Matt Cardona wants to be signed. That's why. I think he's happy doing the indies.
Still bring him in for, again, I don't mind people working multiple places. And I wouldn't mind. I don't know why. Like, yeah, bring Cardona back and put him in the system. Even though I think Matt Cardona could be a world champion in any company, I always thought WWE blew it with him. But yeah, I would love to see at the least Steph DeLander sign.
You know what's funny though? It's like Matt Cardona was digital media champion before losing the title, so they should bring him back to try to like get back that digital media title. That I would just want to see another .combat match.
And I just realized something. Where are my goddamn manners? Can someone tell me if Ash by Elegance is okay? Somebody tell me. I was disgusted. I know it was an accident, but please, you heard Ray Walt screaming 72 hours. She wasn't supposed to have any contact. Please, somebody let me know if she's okay.
I'm sure she's fine. But one of the things I like about this match was the intertwine of stories. You had Masha and Danny Luna. You know, Spitfire was in this match. Spitfire, the Knockouts Tag Team Champions. MK Ultra, former Knockouts Tag Team Champions. I really like the fact that Masha and Luna have their moments in this match. I do like the fact that they're setting up a storyline for Ash by Elegance with Xia Brooks. Normally they wait a little while before setting up storylines for a new talent. You know, look at how long it took them to set up a storyline with Steve Macklin, Masha, W. Morrissey, just to name a few. So I really like that they're slowly bridging Ash by Elegance into a storyline with Xia Brooks side.
Nobody does it better than TNA.
Yeah.
In terms of using everybody on the roster, giving everybody something to do. You don't ever forget about anybody. You don't go weeks without seeing somebody. And that doesn't mean that they're overused, because sometimes they'll just get someone in a quick backstage segment just to remind you that they're still there. And I like that.
Yeah. Like you said, Matt Cardona hit the radio silence to Rosemary, allowing Steph DeLander to win this. So I wonder if they're gonna follow up with this, like Matt Cardona attacking Rosemary. You know that she's not gonna be happy about that.
True.
All right. So as you alluded to earlier, what the heck is going on with the tag team division? First, you get Time Machine backstage. Chris Sabin talking about how he didn't want to worry about the dissension between times between them, because he has his match with Steve Macklin, and Shelly accusing him of like looking out for himself and trying to climb the ranks and stuff like that. I brings up a good point. Rosemary will send Cardona to the Dark Realm. Yeah, she will. And then you got ABC. Like, you had Ace Austin basically telling Chris Bay, why was he even in that match, in the Rebellion Rough Around match, when they should be focusing on the tag titles. And then like Bay got offended because Ace he thought that Ace was saying that he doesn't stand up for ABC. And so he goes looking for Frankie Kazarian. So what's going on here? Like, it seems like there's cracks in ABC and Time Machine. What's your takes on all of this?
Sometimes I worry way too much. And as soon as this group, and I've been worrying way too much as soon as this group started clicking, that I don't want to see the day when they break up. I don't want to see one turn on the other. I'd rather have an amicable split where they both agree to go their separate ways. But I did not like seeing this. This was sad. I don't want to see AB. I don't want. I said it time and time again. I think they're single-handedly the only thing, or at least one of the things, keeping the Bullet Club relevant in terms of, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. As soon as they joined, it just kind of reminded me of the energy the Young Bucks brought when they joined the Bullet Club. It just kind of felt, I don't know, like fresh energy. And I don't want to see this group break up. I don't want, but at the same time, again, I knew it was going to happen just because I think that they're both future world champions. They're both going to carry the company into the future. But still, I don't want to see them. I don't want to see them fight. You know what I mean? I don't need to see one of them throw one of them into a barbershop mirror. You know what I mean? I don't need one of them to look at a list and say, "Why is my name on it?" You know what I mean? I don't need to see the next week why the crowd asking why to one of them. I don't need to see this.
JJ saying, "Boo, the Massey brothers suck." I think because you compared ABC to the Young Bucks.
I compared them. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I compared them just because, just the kind of, the energy that both teams brought. When the Young Bucks joined, the youthful energy. But everyone's entitled to that. I know not everyone's a Young Bucks fan.
Yeah, I agree with. I have to agree. Like, I did not like to see ABC fighting, especially because it kind of feels like it's kind of coming out of nowhere. But like, I really hope they don't split up. Time Machine, I understand because the seeds have been planted, the tension is there. I think it's assumption. Ace said on Twitter, ABC's too hot to split. Oh, thank God. Like, I really hope they don't split because it's just as easy as, what was it? ABC, a 1, 2, sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would hate for ABC to split. PWI Insider reported that the Motor City Machine Guns, their contract expires April 1st. We're losing Motor City Machine Guns. The tag team division as a whole right now is good. We don't need to break up ABC.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got a Grizzled Young Vets in ring promo, and they're basically calling out Dean. If you remember last week, they lost, and they blamed that loss on Diener because he took their time away. When Diener, they see they also have a rematch clause too. They do. And when Diener came out, he said that he could get a match, and he ended up getting himself in the 2-on-1 handicap match against the Grizzled Young Vets. I mean, I have to hand it to Diener. He tried, but there was no way he was going to beat the Grizzled Young Vets here, and that was what happened. The Grizzled Young Vets hit the Grit Your Teeth in, and poor Diener lost. But I feel like the crowd is kind of setting him up because they told him to pick both of them.
I was hoping Jake something was going to come out and we were going to get a reunion, but that didn't happen. I didn't really know what to make of this just because. So, I guess they are going with a full face turn for Diener. At least that seems like what they're trying. I don't know. It just felt like this segment was just kind of there, and it wasn't because of GYV. It just seems like Diener's kind of directionless right now. I don't know what they're doing with him, but GYV continue to be over. I don't know what their contract decision is, but I hope that they stick around TNA.
I hope so too. I really do. But we gotta wait and see. But yeah, Diener's directionless right now. Allen Angels is doing the sound check. Khan is feuding with PCO. We'll get into that right now. The people is Diener. That's true. I wonder if this is supposed to lead to him being back into heel because, like I said, I feel like the crowd's setting him up. We get Nick Nemeth getting interviewed backstage, but before he can even say anything, he gets interrupted by Alex Shelley. And basically, the whole point of this is that Shelley has a lot of Nick Nemeth has a lot of respect for Alex Shelley, and he wants to have a match with him. He even says that when he beats Moose, his first match wants to be against Alex Shelley. But Alex Shelley kind of talks him into having the match a lot earlier, and then they both shake hands. So what do you think? You think this is Alex Shelley just being strategic, or it's out of respect for Nick Nemeth? Because he did tell him you really want to be, what was it, cold before your match?
Well, it also kind of makes me think that Nemeth is not winning the belt because, as you alluded to earlier, the Machine Gun's contract is up April 1st and Rebellion's the 20th. So it's not like the Machine Guns would be around at that point. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this match just because there's something always cool about seeing a first-time matchup. You know what I mean? So I am looking forward to this, but again, Alex Shelley was very heelish in this segment.
He was extremely heelish. But I can't wait for that match. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. I think Nick Nemeth would probably go over Alex Shelley.
Yeah, no. I think Alex Shelley is going to put him over, definitely. Because they have to keep Nemeth strong, especially since this match is going to, again, happen before the title match.
Yeah. We get a Josh Alexander in-ring promo where he's basically calling out Alex Hammerstone. You know, he says that Santino Marella gave him a contract for an open challenge. And that's basically for Hammerstone, but Hammerstone doesn't come out. Tracy Williams comes out, and he basically wants a match with Josh because he's been waiting for his opportunity in TNA. And Josh says, you know, he's stressed to compete. Why not? This is a really great match. I mean, Tracy Williams really took it to Josh Alexander. I hope we see more of him in TNA.
You have to love TNA's open door policy. You know what I mean? You could, again, this match was a perfect demonstration of that. You didn't know we were thinking Hammerstone just because he's calling him out. You know, even though we talked about how they need to keep them away from each other. You know what I mean? Let's delay this feud. But yeah, no, this was a really good match. Again, I don't think it's possible for Josh Alexander to have a bad match. I can't remember the last time Josh Alexander had a bad match. I don't think it's been. It's probably been years, if ever. So yeah, and then again, Hammerstone comes out. I like him having the headgear around his bicep. It's just a cool image. And I like how, I remember last week you brought up, because I think that was like the first time or second time I heard him cut a promo, and I was blown away. I think you said that you liked it. I think Hammerstone just exudes star power. You know what I mean? That's a guy that they're going to definitely have big plans for.
Definitely, I do agree. I mean, he gave the torture rack to poor Tracy Williams, who did nothing to him. He's definitely sending a message to Josh Alexander with that one, and I cannot wait for the rubber match between both men. But I kind of hope they hold off on it, you know?
When he did that move, I popped because, again, like, I'm getting sick and tired of seeing the same goddamn finisher. And I just remember thinking, I don't know why nobody does the rack. Like, it's kind of stupid, but it just kind of looks cool to the image of somebody tapping like that. You know what I mean? I just remember so many times with Lex Luger winning that move and the crowd losing their shit. So, like, I personally like that Hammerstone's using the torture rack.
Same. All right, we get a Mustafa Ali backstage segment, and I really like the fact that he's showing off his PWI cover to Santino Marella. If you don't know, you haven't seen, Mustafa Ali is on the cover of PWI, the second exhibition to make the cover after Samoa Joe, which Santino Marella brings up. Hammerstone doesn't appeal to you. You don't know why? Hey, you know, everybody has their favorites and stuff. So I mean, he appeals to me. What I like so far, from what I've seen so far, I think he's a future TNA World Champion.
Yeah, I like Hammerstone. He's got like an old school look to him, but like he can work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I really like the fact that, like, he's talking about how there should be limits on the exhibition when Santino Marella explains to him that the whole point of the exhibition is to not have limits. And he even brings up the fact that Samoa Joe was exhibition champion. And, like, it's funny because Mustafa Ali is talking about he wants to preserve the history and the importance of the exhibition title when he's trying to undermine it by saying it should have limits. And I like how he calls Rhino Mr. Rhinoceros. And he's going to have an old school rules match next week with Rhino. What do you think of this?
First off, let me just say I like Santino Marella kind of giving the history and just kind of explaining what the X division is and what it's always stood for. Like, again, TNA were pioneers with this division just because, because he basically asked why Jake Something could compete in this match, and then Santino Marella told him, you know what I mean? I love this segment. My only complaint is, why isn't Dango on the cover of PWI?
Because he hates professional wrestling.
No one show him this. I hope they got that out of there before, because I don't want to. Still, what is his ranking?
I don't know. I don't think. Remember, he talked about it. I don't think he mentioned it.
You know, I hope Mustafa Ali sticks around, because I would like to see him be the next Option C winner, just because I think of him as somebody who is a world champion as well. I think this is the best run of his career, just in terms of this character. It's heel 101. It's the cowardly heel, which is always going to work. So I really like this.
Io says Mustafa didn't get the memo of the X Division memo. Moto.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. He didn't. There are no limits. All right. Next, we get Eddie Edwards versus Speedball Mike Bailey. This was a good match. I thought it was a really great match. It just shows like that the system works. Yeah, Eddie Edwards getting the big win over Speedball Mike Bailey before the system is scheduled to defend their titles against Speedball Mountain. And Ali, you trust? I trust Ali too.
I like how he, real quick on Ali, I like what kind of name is Something.
Right?
I like how, yeah. By the way, I think that they heard your complaints, because when I saw this fish, I'm like, oh, wow, the tag team champions didn't lose a single match. Because you always get mad at it. And it's just funny because, if anything, because the men's division is a lot more stacked than the women's tag team division. So, if anything, I would be okay if Eddie did lose, but I'm glad he didn't. But yeah, just like you always ask, Eddie didn't lose. They're the champs. The champs shouldn't lose.
Tag team champions, male or female, should not lose singles matches. Single non-title matches.
Again, I think however, I think every situation is different, but I tend to agree with you.
Thank you. Speaking of which, I was right. I said that PCO and Khan should have a Monsters Ball. And what happened here? We had PCO shout Khan Monsters Ball match.
There's no way Khan should lose this match. And if he does, it's like, so what the hell was this trying to like the seeds being planted, them trying to establish himself as like the next monster? He has to win this match.
He definitely does. Like you said, in order for him to be established as the next monster, he has to beat PCO in this Monsters Ball match. Otherwise, what was the whole point?
Exactly.
He has to win. This cannot have a screwy finish. This has to be a decisive win for Khan. No ands or buts about it. He has to beat PCO.
Again, he completely agree with you.
So we also find out that the Full-Blooded Italians, FBI, are coming next week.
I popped for that too.
Me too. JJ says, if Khan loses, then I give up on him, and I'm a PCO fan.
No, I say it louder for everyone in the back to hear. Exactly. Khan, and also too, PCO is one of those guys that like, he doesn't have to win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. PCO does not need this win.
No, he doesn't. Khan does.
Khan
and it's only because what they're telling us the last couple weeks is that they're trying to do something with him. So you can't just like, you have to continue with that.
Exactly. All right. We get Frankie Kazarian. He's basically talking about how, like, Eric Young thinks he's a hero of his story and that he's going to match whatever violence Eric Young brings because he's the one true king of TNA. You know, I know we've talked about this and I'll say it again. They should bring back King of the Mountain and have Frankie Kazarian win King of the Mountain.
Can we give you the Booker of the Year award? I like that. And I like that for a couple reasons, just because Kazarian's old school TNA. That's an old school TNA match. I like that idea of that. Again, I hope the chat can help me out. What was Kazarian's lone world title match? I think it was at a Sacrifice. I don't know the year. But I thought the idea of Kazarian coming back to TNA, there was the understated storyline that he needs to win the big one, just because I think he deserves to win the big one.
He does deserve to win the big one. That's the whole reason he came back to TNA. That's the part of the reason why he turned heel, because he wants to win the big one.
Can't wait to talk about my favorite segment of the night next. I think that's where we're going.
And then, you know, Chris Bay challenging him to match next week because he wants the throne. And I love the fact that Frankie Kazarian, he says, what do you say? It's ABC, as easy as 1, 2. Sweet.
Kazarian's growing on me as a heel every week.
Yeah.
And it's because TNA gives their talent room to, like, play with and find themselves, find their footing.
They do. Io says this last one was against Alexander. He faced Angle for the title many years back. Yeah,
that's what I was asking. I thought it was a triple threat match where he had there was a replacement and Kazarian was put in the match. It didn't really feel like a true world title match just because he wasn't really supposed to be there. But I hope that they keep bringing that up.
I think Kazarian will either get it at Summerverse or Bound for Glory. I feel like the likely scenario will probably be Bound for Glory, just because I think that Nick Nemeth, if he doesn't win at Rebellion, will probably win at Slammiversary.
Yeah, because that again, I don't see Kazarian turning face, so it's gonna have to play into Nemeth winning it eventually, and then Kazarian win it from him.
That's what I said.
Oh, did you? Okay.
That's exactly what I've been saying.
Okay.
Okay. Io says Kazarian should win a King of the Mountain match and do a crown gimmick. Oh, could you imagine that? I totally imagine that Frankie Kazarian walking out there with his crown because he is the king of TNA.
I would love if they made that, because obviously not to bite WWE, but if the King of the Mountain was a yearly thing and the winner did get a crown, I like just old school gimmick wrestling stuff like that. You know what I mean? And the idea of, you know, I loved King Booker. You know what I mean? I love over the top shit like that. So I would love that. That accent he had. God, King Booker was great.
But King Booker was definitely a cool gimmick. I know some people didn't like him, but...
What was that?
I know some people didn't like King Booker, but he was a good heel. JJ says have him go full-blown King Booker with it. Pinky up and everything. Remember that? That was great. That was some great stuff. So next we get Rich Swann and AJ Francis explaining their actions. This was great. I really, really dug this. I mean, Rich Swann, he went out there in a different attire, not his usual dancing self, and he explained his actions, and it made sense. How he talked about how bring back Tracy too, even Tracy as his queen. He talked about how, like, every time he went back to the locker room, the only person that would check up on him was AJ Francis. He talked about how Joe Henry stole the victory from him after he blind tagged him. What do you think of their name? First Class. You know that's their stable name because they kept mentioning it. They kept repeating it. And I really like I really like the fact that AJ Francis brings up Rich Swann's world title run, which was a Drew McIntyre situation. He won the title when there was no fans. You know? And he was world champion when there was no fans. And like Rich Swann says, he doesn't need any of them because they weren't there when he won the world title. He did it all by himself.
First of all, before I say what I'm gonna say,
You know, and I like how they said that as long as you got TNA AJ Francis and the homie Rich Swann, you got money, money, money. And it just reminded me of the movie Talladega Nights when he says, because if you ain't first class, you're last. Because Ricky Bobby's motto was, if you're not first, you're last. So that kind of reminded me of that. But this was really great. I dug all of this.
It's like you want to be like your loser teacher here. That's what he said at the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we're friends. So before I say what I'm going to say, let me just first say you can't get mad at me. Okay? Even though that doesn't work like that. The System is my number 2 favorite faction now.
Oh, okay.
This is my new favorite faction.
First class?
This is the best thing in TNA right now. And once again, Jesus Christ, dude. Somebody should, like, at this point, it's like it's like an inevitability that anytime someone goes to TNA, they're going to become a star, or at least better than where they were before. And like AJ Francis is so good. That promo was so great. Like, and I'm glad, like, unless I read this wrong, I believe that, and hopefully the chat will correct me if I am wrong, I believe he's signed through the rest of 2024.
He is.
Which I hope he sticks around longer than that. He's so good. And again, it's because, just because it's 2024, not everybody has to, like, work really fast and, like, be able to, like, we still need big guys to do big guy stuff.
Yeah.
And again, like, the promo skills were always there. And again, Rich Swann needed this. I loved him talking about this. I always love blaming the fans. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem saying it was their fault. So I like this. I like Rich Homie Swann.
Same. This is great. I can't wait to see what this faction does. I cannot wait to see what their finisher does or what it's called. I'm thinking it kind of something that has to do with like flight and airlines. So AJ Francis gives me Shook Knight vibes. I can see that.
That's true.
Yeah. So we get a sit-down interview with Laredo Kid. And I like this because we got to learn a little bit more about Laredo Kid. And at the end, he challenges Crazy C for the digital media title. You remember at Sacrifice, he was supposed to face Crazy C, but due to visa issues, he was unable to have that match. So he got replaced with Joe Henry. Which is why he called him out now, because he wants that opportunity. Io says Joe Henry should have came down to attack. We need serious Joe. We do, but with Joe being by himself, who would be his tag team partner unless New Japan wants to loan Yuya back?
No, Joe Henry needs to be a heel on his own. He needs to cut, like, doing the funny song stuff. I think that's kind of run its course. Because there's just too many people who are ahead of him in terms of their place in my mind that I think of before him, and I just think he's kind of become an afterthought. He needs to do something to get back some momentum.
I disagree. I like Joe Henry, but
I know you do.
I believe in Joe Henry. I believe in 252 pounds of pure motivation, the answer to all our life's problems. So I would be very curious to see how a heel Joe Henry would act.
I'm sadly sad I've lost faith a while ago.
Ouch, Bert. Ouch.
I believe in first class. You know what I mean?
You trust the system, though?
Again, I do, but I'm rolling with Francis and Swann right now.
So you're hanging out in first class.
Well, that's how I always fly.
Okay. We in our main event ends up being Steve Macklin versus Chris Sabin, this was a freaking match, man. Like, Chris Sabin was really taking his frustrations out on poor Steve Macklin. He kept targeting that left arm of his. Like, I thought Chris Sabin was gonna like attack Steve Macklin post match after all that he was doing during this.
This was a great fucking match. Steve Macklin, again, like, I hope Steve Macklin sticks around because I think he deserves another world title run. I think that he's actually become even better than he was before. This was so good. So good. His finisher looks so brutal. The elevation the elevation he gets on that spike DDT is just so sick.
This was absolute banger match. It was fantastic match. Like, holy smokes. You know, I really like the fact that commentary brought up a Rebellion 2022 where Steve Macklin pinned Chris Sabin and he beat not only Chris Sabin but Jay White. And I really like the fact that they were briefly in an alliance against Honor No More, which we all know how that turned out.
Yes. I love hearing about history during a match, especially when it plays into that match. Yeah, great job by Hannafin during this whole time.
Yeah, Hannafin did a really great job bringing that up.
And just real quick, I didn't like, even though it was short-lived, seeing the Rascals and Macklin officially break up in the back kind of brought a tear to my eye.
They were a great faction, even though it was short-lived, but realistically, how much further could they have gone? You know, Steve Macklin wasn't world champion. If they were world champion, I guess. See, this is probably why they need like their own version of a trios title, because Steve Macklin and the Rascals could have been like trios champion or 6-man champion.
Exactly. Well, I'm assuming it's obvious that they're listening to you, so it's probably only a matter of time before they get those belts. I'm assuming you'll be one of the first champions or part of that team, just because, you know what I mean? You deserve it. You deserve it.
Thank you. Clap, clap.
Yeah. Notice how I didn't say what, Yeah. But, no, it's really funny how, and I like how, well, technically it's a third of the way over, but TNA, again, despite the hiccup, and again, everyone loves Scott, but they didn't take away. It's not like the roster left. I think TNA's just been on fire in 2024. And I think the sky's the limit for this promotion.
It's a solid show. It's definitely a solid show. I agree. I really enjoyed tonight's show. We are on the road to Rebellion. You're right. The sky's the limit. They just got to increase their production value, and try to expand AXS into more homes. And I think that they'll be fine.
When we said sky's the limit, I just thought of the Sky High, and I just immediately thought of D'Lo. So I was gonna start, twitching my head like D'Lo. I can't do it though, like D'Lo used to do it. I can't do that.
All right, Bert. Is there anything else you want to see before we get ready to sign off?
The same thing my tattoo says on the side of my neck. Watch TNA. You know what I mean? I got that Cody tattoo, but it says watch TNA.
I mean, how many times do we have to tell people to stop sleeping on TNA wrestling?
I don't know. I'm getting upset.
From now on, I'm probably just going to put a clip that says watch TNA wrestling. That way I don't have to say it. I
agree with that.
It says we'll see if they keep the momentum as contracts begin to come up. Looks like Morrissey and Michelle already have their feet out the door, but they just re-signed Ace Austin this morning.
Look I try to find a little bit of a silver lining. Yes, the Machine Guns are legends, but we're letting an older team go, and we just re-signed Ace Austin, a guy in his under 30, and we just signed Hammerstone. So it's not like things are all doom and gloom.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? People can't wrestle forever. You know what I mean?
And it's not like the tag team division is in disarray like it was when the Good Brothers were there a couple years ago. That was
Exactly.
probably like the worst period for the tag team division. Right now they're stacked. They'll be okay. They will be okay.
Exactly. TNA is fine.
Exactly. TNA is fine. Ayos is more Philly next week. Ironica, WrestleMania week. Yep. The inevitable one will still cross the line. Yeah. Don't sleep on NXT either. We'll see about that. TNA will be fine. Yes, they will be fine. They will be fine. They've survived 20 plus years. They'll be all right.
And notice how 22 years is longer than 83 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean to sound so aggressive right there, but
it's okay. All right, Bert, where can people find you?
On X, BurtMacon11.
You can follow me on Twitter at @Datila_. I talk all things wrestling: Raw, SmackDown, AEW Dynamite, AEW Rampage, and of course I do TNA exclusively on BodySlam. Thank you guys all so much for watching and for the continued support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever we go live or whenever BodySlam goes live. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.